our favorite plays from the guys with the following price ranges for tonight's main slate. Matt, we'll start with you. Pitchers over 8K. Who do you like tonight?
I think I'll leave the more popular guys to everyone else. So there's Andrew Heaney, who's making his first start with the Yankees. And I do like Tyler McGill. So my problem with Heaney is just I think he'll be very, very chalky for tournaments. McGill to a lesser extent, but I do like the spot for him against the Marlins. The guy I'm most interested in is a pitcher who I definitely think is bad in Taylor Widener. The reason I like him is because he's facing the Giants, who I'm pretty sure will be the highest owned offense tonight by a significant margin. So Widener can get some strikeouts. He also walks a bunch of guys. He's very homer prone. This can go very badly for him. But if you play him and he's good and you don't have the Giants in your lineup and you're doing that for tournaments, obviously not for cash games, this would not be the cash option whatsoever. But the leverage for him is just very strong. So Widener just gets you a leg up on the field to such a significant extent that even though I expect him to be probably below average tonight, if he is good, I think you just get a huge advantage from it. So that's kind of where I'm looking, but I don't think there's anything wrong with Heaney or Tyler McGill.
Okay, Stan, is your pitcher over 8K a more high-profile name?
It is. I'm going up top. I really do like what Matt was saying. I think the leverage that you get is going to be tremendous with Widener. You know, San Francisco, they're first in strikeouts against right-handed pitching, so I really do like that call. I like both McGill and DeSclafani. They're 96, 9,300. So, you know, the numbers are very similar. FIP, almost identical. Swinging strike rate is almost identical. You know, McGill has a higher K per nine and a walk rate. But, you know, the matchups are very similar here. You know, Miami's 8th in strikeouts against righties. Arizona's 12th. They're both way at the bottom in ISO, so 20th and 29th in ISO respectively. I'm going to take the $300 discount with DeSclafani, though. I think the ownership's going to be lower than McGill, especially since he's coming off a negative 0.8 DK fantasy point outing against the Dodgers. He did face Arizona early in July. I think that was like 4 or 5 starts ago. He went 8 2/3 innings, struck out 7, allowed 2 runs, and that was good for 28.7 DK fantasy points. So that's my guy tonight.
Okay, Paul, who do you like? Pitcher over 8K tonight.
For me, it's got to be one of the guys at the top of the board. And for instance, in his 7 games in the majors, the only thing Tyler McGill, who's priced at the top of the board, $9,600, has lacked is run support. And that's why he's only 1-0 despite a 2.04 ERA and a 1.10 WHIP and 39 strikeouts against only 11 walks. That's all in 35 innings. Those are all outstanding numbers. And tonight he gets the struggling Mets, who are on a 4-game loser and that were held only 4 runs over a 3-game sweep by the Yankees on the weekend. However, my pick is Anthony DeSclafani. He's next up at $9,300, in part because he faces the D-backs, the worst team in the major leagues. However, he's pitched very well when you consider his 2.64 ERA, a sparkling 0.93 WHIP, and 59 strikeouts against only 12 walks in his last 61 innings. That's covering his last 10 starts. The rest of the guys on this in this range are priced lower, but come with question marks for me. So it's got to be one of the top 2.
All right, let's move to the bats. Looking at hitters over 5K. Stan, we'll start with you. Just looking at guys over 6K on the slate tonight. I see Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, but are you into someone in that 5K range?
Yeah, give me Joey Gallo, 5,400. It's going to be his first time visiting Yankee Stadium with a short porch. More importantly, though, he gets to face off against Jorge Lopez. Strikeout rate is only 20.9% against lefties, and he's allowed 1.6 home runs per 9. You know, Gallo does strike out a lot, over 30% against righties, but the ISO is a whopping 260. And then once Lopez is out of the game, the Baltimore bullpen has the 10th highest FIP. So yeah, give me Gallo here.
Matt, who do you like?
I like Gallo too, and I actually just generally like this whole price range because with the way pitching is set up, I feel like most people are spending around 17, 18, maybe 19K at pitcher. And the popular offenses are just likely going to be the cheaper ones. Maybe not super cheap, but like the Giants are all priced around 3,500 to 5,000. I think just most of the chalk ends up being in that price range. If there is a popular player above 5K, I think it might be Gallo. But I think Harper's a good play. I think Soto's a good play. The player I'm probably most interested in, though, is Trey Mancini. And I think it's specifically the leverage you get against Andrew Heaney, who should be the most popular pitcher tonight. And Mancini, with the platoon advantage, is just a really good hitter. Yankee Stadium, not really a park upgrade because Baltimore is a good place to hit too. But I just think Mancini's in a good spot, and he just won't have ownership because of the pitcher he's going against.
Okay, he's 5,200 tonight. Paul Bruno, who do you like? Hitter over 5K.
I'll give you two because I tend to look at who are the power hitters that are hitting for average as well of late. And the two guys that fit that profile are Brandon Lowe. He's priced at $5,700 a guy. I'm looking at, might be surprised to the other guys based on his 224 batting average on the year, but I find him compelling because he's on that streak in the last 10 games where he's hit a 306 batting average, 405 OBP, along with 6 extra base knocks. I'll take the hot power hitter every time in this slot, like I was saying. And he'll also enjoy the platoon advantage over Rays starter Michael Wacha. He's given up 9 home runs and 21 earned runs in only 38 innings pitched. See what I mean about struggling starters? In my first answer, I guess, is the name of the game there. The next best option for me is Mets Jeff McNeil, not a noted power hitter, but he's on a very good streak of late. Again, based on that streak, hitting 359, 390 on base, and 7 extra base knocks, including 3 of his 6 homers on the year in those last 10 games played.
Okay, we need some value because there are only 7 games on this slate tonight. Stan, we'll start with you. Give me a value bat on this slate.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same tip as Matt here. Against Heaney, I like Austin Hayes a lot, 2,600. Like you said, like Matt was saying, you get the leverage, but, he's batting second in the lineup. Heaney is tough against righties as the strikeout rate is 31.4%, but, he's susceptible to the long ball. He's given up 2.3 home runs per 9. So, Hayes only strikes out 13.1% against lefties, and he has a .206 ISO against them. So he's just too cheap for the upside. The place in the line is ideal, and like Matt said, you get leverage.
Paul?
I like Anthony Rizzo, priced at $4,800. He joined the Yankees recently and has continued a red-hot hitting streak of his own. He's got 5 homers in his last 10 games, part of a 13 for 35 stretch overall. That translates to an OPS of 1.3, which is very high. He and his mates have a very favorable matchup tonight against the O's. Jorge Lopez, who's been throwing up beach balls, if you consider 67 hits allowed in only 45 innings pitched, as part of a lousy 7.2 ERA in his 45 innings over the last 10 starts. That looks like batting practice numbers to me, so I'm all over that one. Or how about Randy Arozarena at $4,700? 4 homers and 14 hits as part of his 1.06 OPS in the last 10 starts. He will be more challenged than Rizzo because he faces Chris Flexen, who has some idea of where the plate is, I guess, when you compare the two head-to-head. There may be other guys who hit well of late and get favorable matchups tonight, but I think these are the only 2 hot power hitters who get the kind of matchup that points to a continuation of their recent run of success for me.
Matt, best value bat on the slate in your eyes?
So I think it might be Austin Hayes for me too, but there are a few, so I'll go with someone else there. I do just want to quickly pay lip service to the Giants because if it's cash games, like those are the most underpriced players, even though I do like Taylor Widener. That's just a GPP leverage move. The Giants guys, in particular, Lamont Wade at 3,500, like if in cash games, I think that is the guy to go with. But for tournaments, I actually like the Arizona offense. They did just trade Eduardo Escobar, but Ketel Marte is back from the IL, and he is probably their best hitter. So it's a little bit better of a lineup than what they've had recently. Cole Calhoun's priced at 3,100, Carson Kelly 2,600. And again, this should be a low-owned spot because DeSclafani, I think, is a fine pitcher who will be popular tonight just because of the matchup. But generally speaking, he's not great. I mean, there really isn't a great pitcher to pick tonight. So he may just be popular because he's better than kind of this mess of average arms that are out there. But I still think Arizona has upside. Calhoun is a pretty solid hitter. Marte's a solid hitter. So I'm looking at those two in addition to the guys on Baltimore.
Terrific. Let's switch gears now to the DK Sportsbook. Once again, 7 games tonight in Major League Baseball. Paul, we'll begin with you. Your favorite bet tonight on the DraftKings Sportsbook?
I'll give you a couple on one team and one player. I'm looking at the alternate run line in the Yanks versus O's matchup tonight because the line is not favorable. Just look at the over-under payoff at 9.5 runs. I think the Bombers are going to account for much of that total all by themselves. So I'm advocating a bet on the alternate total runs for at least a total of 12 for a payoff of at least plus 185. Couple that with a player prop in the same game, taking either Aaron Judge at plus 235 or Anthony Rizzo at plus 320 to go yard. I remember the batting practice totals that Jorge Lopez has been serving up late. I talked about them earlier. They're a mess.
Stan, favorite bet tonight on the Sportsbook?
Yeah, under 7 runs. The Mets and the Marlins, both offenses, are kind of inept. Bottom near the bottom in ISO against right-handed pitching. Both pitchers aren't bad either. Alcantara, he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in each of the last 4 starts, with 2 of those games against the Dodgers and Braves. We kind of went over McGill. I mean, he's only allowed 1 or fewer earned runs in each of the last 5 starts. So yeah, I like the under a lot in this one.
And Matt, favorite bet tonight in baseball?
It's more of a trend. I think a lot of the bigger underdogs are just dealing with lines that are too excessive. So the Orioles aren't really one of them. I do kind of agree the Yankees should be able to dominate in this game, even if Heaney does give up a couple homers. But I'm looking specifically at Cleveland in the afternoon game with a line that's at plus 220, Pittsburgh, Seattle, and then the D-backs who I've been mentioning for the last couple of questions. Like, I think all these teams, maybe the line should be plus 150 or lower. And you just have some really big money lines where the team that's favored is a solid team, but maybe an overrated and more recently overachieving team. Like, I don't think the Giants are as good as their record. I don't think the Rays are as good as their record. The Brewers, without Christian Yelich in the lineup, probably aren't as good as their record, at least right now until they get him back. So I just think some of these teams that are big favorites are a little bit overvalued.